So several such important points, two important points that I want to just touch on. And one is this really important frame when we're going through hardships and difficulties to know and remind ourselves that it is temporary. As the saying goes, this too shall pass. We fail when we behave as if the current undesirable circumstances are perpetual, forever. We have to remind ourselves it's going to pass. So let me behave and act in an intelligent, measured, and patient way with my trial, with my difficulty. This is the single most important thing. Sometimes you may find yourself in a very difficult and unbearable situation. And if you react emotionally in that moment, you will do far more damage. You'll just perpetuate the problem. You'll make it worse. And that's from personal experience. But if we can be patient and intelligent, and that gives us ability to rise above the problem. And that's what Allah Almighty is requiring of us, transcendence. So when we transcend, then the problem begins to resolve itself. But if you allow yourself to be dominated, if you allow your emotions to be dominated by your problem, you'll be stuck in it. You're wrapped up in it. It's wrapped up in you. It has its tentacles inside of you. We have to step back. And then, of course, some things are so difficult. So how can I accept it? How can I bear it? How can I tolerate it? How can I allow it? Just be patient. Patience is transcendence. Keep that in mind. Patience is transcendence. Right? Sabr, hilm, patience, forbearance, endurance. These are transcendence. As soon as you become patient, you begin to rise above that lower world. And that's why Allah says, I am with the patient. And Allah is with the patient. Allah is above the lower world. So when you're patient, it means you are rising. Your spirit is rising. Your soul is rising above the problem. And what begins to happen is actually a shift in consciousness to a dimension, or let's say a state or a level, a state in which the problem becomes increasingly minimized and actually non-existent ultimately, because the problem exists in a particular state, in a particular frequency, in a particular state of consciousness, or as a result of a particular state of consciousness. That's where that problem exists, in a particular world. Through patience, you actually rise above that world and enter into a new possibility or a new reality. So patience is the path to ascent. Very important point. The other one is that, look what Sheikh is saying, you may be learned or illiterate, man or woman, king, farmer, millionaire, or penniless. Whoever bears those tests for the required period with patience will reap the reward. I was just having this conversation, and I'm going to repeat it briefly here, the idea that we have to remember, we have to remind ourselves, and we have to understand that the reward is for those who actualize the religion, not for those who just acquire information about the religion. So that's why Sheikh, again, he has said to be patient is more valuable than becoming a scholar, to becoming an academic, memorizing books of knowledge. Because the person who has memorized books of knowledge may not and probably will not be able to act on it when the test comes. But the illiterate, unlearned person who is able to be patient and humble, kind, generous, loving, compassionate, selfless, he is light years beyond the person who knows infinitely, who knows, exponentially more than him or her. Because what does Allah say in the end? What is going to avail you? What is going to matter? In the end, what will matter is nothing other than qalbun salim, a sound heart. Not how much knowledge you accumulated, how well you recited, none of it. How well you spoke, it won't mean anything. The only thing that will matter is a good heart. And that's why in this religion, the Prophet of Allah ﷺ said, I was sent but to perfect good character. That's the mission. That's the religion. Good character, akhlaq. How to achieve good character? Adab. Good adab. Good adab with your shaykh, good adab with one another. And then, of course, that makes it possible to have good adab with the Prophet, and then good adab with Allah Almighty. Good adab with Allah Almighty is absolute. It means that you have to have absolute perfection and excellence in adab always, with everyone. Right? So some people you'll see, especially Sufis, murids, they have great adab with the sheikh, but terrible adab with one another. Great adab with the sheikh, but terrible adab with their spouse. They're failures. They're failing the path. It's a failure of the path. They haven't understood anything. They'll never advance. They think that they're part of a elite club and that their identity or association is the value. They've missed the point altogether. Because what did the Prophet ﷺ say? The best of you are those who are best to their families. Right? And when you're in your home with your spouse or your children or your parents, that's your sheikh isn't physically there. The Prophet ﷺ isn't physically there, but Allah is there. And we're speaking on a basic level. And so the way you behave with everyone, with the stranger, with your employee, with your employer, with your family, with your friend, and how you behave even when you're alone, that is the adab of excellence that's required to be in Allah's, to honor Allah's presence, because His presence is always with us. We're always in His presence. And that's why Shaykh said, Tariqatun adab. The way is adab. Tariqah is adab. Good behavior, good manners, good character.